Stugatz here. SeatGeek is the smartest, easiest way to find tickets for the football games you want to see up close and in person this season. There's nothing like being in the stadium for the biggest plays of the year, and with SeatGeek, it's never been easier to get the guaranteed seats you want for a great value. I have the SeatGeek app on my phone, and it's by far the easiest way I found to shop for tickets. I can be anywhere, and with just a few taps, I can instantly find seats for this weekend or any game this season. Plus, every ticket you buy on SeatGeek is backed by their 100% guarantee, so you can shop for tickets on SeatGeek with confidence. Best of all, my listeners get a $20 rebate off their first SeatGeek purchase. To get your $20 rebate on tickets, download the SeatGeek app, go to the Settings tab, and click Add a Promo Code. Enter promo code LeBatard. SeatGeek will send you $20 after you've made your first ticket purchase. Download the SeatGeek app and enter promo code LeBatard today.
Attention.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show.
Thank you for removing the scales from your eyes and recognizing that I am the prophet.
Dan Le Batard. Stugatz.
It's a heady play.
This is the real bass.
Texter writes in, wow, Dan, you're an amazingly awful snob. I did the formula stuff, man. I threw in a couple of fat-face jokes to appear charming and self-deprecating so that I would conceal and mask the snobbery and the strident obnoxiousness. It's a go-to move of mine. It has been for decades. The entire empire is built atop it.
Bass is pumping.
It's formulaic at this point. We're playing notes, baby. It's music. He's not actually obnoxious. He's self-deprecating. No. He's just Lupica in disguise. It's the next evolution. He's kind of like the Porzingis of radio.
See, you can get away with having the monster ego. All you got to do is inject like a fat joke here.
Just a couple here and there, and you can still be Francesa, but in disguise. I've got a clock on my phone that goes off. Read a text making fun of your fat face, and then I just read it. It's like, he's so charming. Even though he's an arrogant bleep bag. I'm not even here right now. I'm at the bank making sure all the Disney money comes in by armored truck. This is a taped recording. I taped this 4 years ago.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugatz on ESPN Radio.
I love that Guillermo walked in the middle of all that, and he's done his grid of death punishment. If you're watching on ESPNU right now, Guillermo looks like Ziggy Stardust. It's a great costume. I mean, it's David Bowie. You look great.
Really does.
It's fantastic. But what happened is Guillermo comes into the room, and I'm railing and roiling, but also he looks at me because I'm dressed in this tuxedo that I was going to wear to Pablo's wedding, and so he's laughing at me, and I'm pretty sure when he was laughing at me, he didn't realize what he looked like for that moment while he was laughing at me. So he's laughing at me while I'm looking at him and seeing him for the first time and laughing at him.
I feel so bad because I feel like a text that I sent caused part of this problem, and I was like not involved in any of it. And I walked in and I was like, "What did I do?" And I'm dressed like a clown.
You heard me in the other room railing. And here's what happened. I never called Guillermo, and I called him this morning, and I needed some help getting some stuff, including this tux, out of my car. And
Right.
Guillermo's actual sentence to me was, "I can't right now. I'm getting my David Bowie makeup." And so that was the sentence. And I know Guillermo, given all his neuroses, just sat there stewing. He's like, "I can't believe I failed Dan in a moment that he needed me." No,
Right,
I know.
Right.
I know.
First time he calls me for something, for a favor.
Right. And I couldn't do it because I was getting David Bowie makeup.
Yep.
Dan, do you need Chris? I'll send Chris down. I'll do whatever you want. I just can't do it.
I'm like, no, never mind. And so I could just feel him like sobbing, crying through the makeup.
But you're right. Guillermo cannot laugh at anyone today. It's ridiculous. And you said you were going to wear that tuxedo to the wedding. You have made a change here. You have.
Well, I don't know yet. We're going to get to Game 7 of World Series. Great game, historic, blah, blah, blah. We'll get to that in a second. But I don't know. Roy says this looks good. Mike says it doesn't look bad. You guys were saying, hey, what are the two white tigers going to dress as? You guys were saying I look like a 1990s mariachi band. You guys were saying I'm ready for the Color Me Bad reunion tour. You guys were saying that Lyle Lovett was going to call because he wanted his tuxedo back, his look back. And then I walk in here, and keep in mind, I'm wearing this tux with shorts. And you guys were like, that's not awful. And all I'm trying to avoid is putting on a bow tie.
Right.
And all I'm trying to avoid is upstaging the bride, which you guys made me feel like I was doing because I was going to look so ridiculous that I was going to upstage the bride.
I mean, not as bad now that I'm seeing it on you and in person, but still pretty bad.
Okay, and I don't know. You could look at ESPNU and vote at Le Batard Show if you want. I want all your tweets today to be signed Ziggy Stardust, please. At Le Batard Show. Does it look good on Dan? Well, that's going to be tainted because people are going to vote without even seeing it. How does the tux look? Just make it that.
All right.
Good or bad? Game 7 of the World Series last night. Super fun, tense, great, amazing. Now, that game gets played a lot during the regular season, but it gets great and forever because of the stakes, right? I mean, all of us are amazed by the game, but it's because everything was on display during that game.
Yeah, that game gets played a lot in the regular season. The stakes, the one-game scenario, the two teams playing in that game, the curse, the home run by Davis to tie it up. I mean, it had everything. It really did.
I know it would have been unsatisfying, but it really should have ended in a tie. Like, I know that would have made everyone furious, but Cleveland, that didn't determine the best team. Just Cleveland, Chicago scored a couple of runs in the 10th inning. Like, it didn't. Those teams were pretty evenly matched, and they both had wonderful seasons, and neither one of them deserved to lose. And if you were going to do a deserve to lose, the Cubs probably deserved to lose, given how many errors they made in yesterday's game.
They probably did. I believe the two teams scored the same amount of runs over the course of a 7-game series. I mean, that's how tight it was.
It would have been totally unsatisfying, but it's how it should have ended, with both of them remaining not winners, but neither one of them losing that series.
Right.
Because that was not a determination. You realize that basically what happened there is to determine the best team in the sport by a fallible measurement, we're going to play one inning. That's what happened there. Like, we're going to reduce everything this season, all 162 games, everybody getting hurt, everything else. We're just going the way that we're going to measure who's the best team is here. Play this one inning after a rain delay. It's absurd as a measurement.
With pitchers that neither manager wanted on the mound.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
That's all they had left.
So many great things to talk about. And we will be talking about many of them over the course of the show today because that was a lot of fun last night. Baseball was hugely fun, even though Mike turned it off during the rain delay. And one of the polls that we have for you right now, because young people are not watching baseball, one of the polls we have for you are, did you give up on that game last night during the rain delay? Because I imagine casual sports fans may have, or not even casual sports fans. I imagine sports fans who are non-baseball fans may have done what Mike did, which is, no. I'm not doing a rain delay. I'm not doing 1 o'clock in the morning.
At Le Batard Show on Twitter. The poll is brought to you by Cabbage. That's Cabbage with a K, Kabbage, supporting small businesses with on-the-spot access to funding. Visit CabbageWithAK.com. My wife stayed up throughout the rain delay. I'm telling you, my wife has been glued to this series. She has many friends. Her best friend lives in Chicago. So she was glued to it. She loved it. She loved the drama. And she stayed up through that rain delay to watch the end of the game.
I wonder what the poll is going to come back at Le Batard Show. One of the things I want to address, though, with you guys, because it's something I've been railing against for a while now, because I just find it to be a poisonous drag on my absorption of sports analysis, is we have really, because everyone now has a voice and because Twitter and Facebook allow everyone to have the platform, more than ever, we've got this cacophony of voices that are questioning every damn thing the old guy in the dugout does. And I've been tired of it for a while.
Right.
I remember where I was when I grew most tired of it, which is Ray Allen makes a shot, and immediately the conversation started with what did Greg Popovich do with his substitutions? And I'm like, wait, what? Like, Ray Allen just did that, and we're going to question that guy? We're going to question Popovich? And we do it to Belichick on fourth down, and just all of it. I find all of it to be a poisonous sap on the way. I watch analysis less than I ever have. Watch SportsCenter, watch all this stuff less than I have. I was forced. You know what was forced on me last night? Good God, I wanted to throw my television in the ocean. The actual promo for Fox Sports 1, which was Sharp saying LeBron's a top 5 player all time, and Skip Bayless's argument being no, double no. I wanted to take my television and drop kick it into the ocean. That's how he said it. No, double no. America's fastest growing sports show. Because when you start from zero and you have one viewer, you're growing fast. Unbelievable, man. No, double no. That was the promo.
Yeah. Hook me in, though.
But what I'm saying is, the larger point that I wanted to make on this is, and all the criticizing you did of what appeared to be a Joe Madden lapsing into senility during that game last night, what difference did it make?
None. I mean, they won.
But I'm just saying,
but it could cost them the series.
No, I know, but I'm saying, like,
right?
You still want to do that?
Oh, badly.
Yeah, you still want to rip. You want to rip Joe Madden today? That's the show you want to do today?
I don't want to rip Joe Madden. I just don't want Joe Madden to get any credit for the Cubs winning the World Series.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, all that. Do you understand my larger point of, if we're going to spend all our time doing this, we're having these huge arguments that are poisoning sports analysis. And poisoning great moments in sports, like the Ray Allen shot,
right,
like that game last night, with decisions that are in the margins. They don't matter that much. Like, ultimately, Stugatz, Chapman's got to pitch well. And I understand that all you're arguing there is math and probabilities. The way that he used Chapman in the series seemed hugely weird and came back to bite him last night.
You're arguing the usage of Chapman in Game 6. That's what you're arguing. That's what you're arguing.
I know, but what I'm saying is that happened to Chapman against the Giants as well, and it had nothing to do with his usage. I'm saying ultimately the players have to perform to make the decisions right. And when we sit here and second guess everything, we're always right with our second guess because our second guess never has to actually be played out. So we've got the bad result, and 100% of the time we're right with the second guess.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm honestly tired of it.
Like, right after the Davis home run, people started blasting Joe Madden for his usage of Chapman in Game 6, and then he came back the next inning and got through the inning.
I know, but no one gave him
credit.
But he had nothing left, and he was throwing breaking balls.
Right.
But what I'm saying is we've got this dilution. Stugatz, that home run was such a great at bat.
Amazing.
And he's choked up on the bat because he's fearing 100 miles an hour, and all he wants to do is make contact to drive in the runner from second and get one run. And he yanks an outside pitch after fouling off a bunch of 100-mile-an-hour stuff. He yanks with a choked up bat into left field. He yanks it into the seats. And we're sitting there concentrating on the old guy in the dugout and his moves. And I'm like, come on, man. That was pretty cool.
Right, but it can be both, right? You can enjoy that moment and still,
I mean, it can be both, but I'm telling you that it's such a proliferation of the latter that, for me, it's soiling the former.
It was so awesome, that moment. I mean, 35-year-old Rajai Davis, who's been in the league forever as a plug-and-play journeyman. That was so awesome.
I know.
I heard Kirchin say Rajai Davis hadn't hit a home run since August, and Chapman hadn't given up a home run since June.
I know.
Baseball.
I know. Just super cool. Super cool.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. In November, Progressive will give away over 100 vehicles to veterans in need as part of its Keys to Progress program. Very cool program. Giving thanks for the freedom they've given us. To learn more, go to progressive.com/keys to progress. Here's your SportsCenter update. Despite their own manager's best efforts to prevent them from winning the World Series, the Cubs still got it done. 8-7 over the Indians last night in 10 innings. Ben Zobrist, World Series MVP. Cubs, first World Series championship since 1908. Week 9 in the NFL kicks off tonight. Thursday Night Football, Falcons and Bucks, 8:25 Eastern from Tampa. This SportsCenter is brought to you by JCPenney. Hurry into JCPenney's Lucky Day sale and get great deals throughout the store for just $7. Plus, get $10 off when you spend $25 or more with coupons. That's getting your pennies worth. JCPenney. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
More than Stu from the Clevelander on ESPN Radio. Dan Le Batard.
Welcome to Highly Questionable. That's Stugatz over there.
Stugatz.
What do you like on the show today, Stugatz?
I love this Kevin Durant conversation and whether or not his teammates should be mad he was rooting for them to lose in the NBA Finals last year. No, they shouldn't. They lost.
Oh, give your take later. Dale, papi.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugatz on ESPN Radio.
Catch me and Mike Golick Jr. every Sunday for weekend observations from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. The road to the World Series goes through ESPN Radio. The Dan Le Batard Show is brought to you by the Home Depot, a proud sponsor of the College Game Day Tour, live this Saturday from Baton Rouge as Alabama takes on LSU. The Home Depot, the next generation of home improvement with everything you need to do projects smarter. The Home Depot, more saving, more doing.
Tim Kirkshin going to join us in 40 minutes. I like a Dragonfly Jones tweet he put out last night. He just wrote, essentially, I'm paraphrasing here, don't really know baseball, but my opinion is whatever Tim Kirkshin says it should be. When it comes to baseball matters, there are very few people. Who else is like that across sports media, where you believe so much in everything about them, that they're likable, that they're knowledgeable, that they're good at taking old information and new information, advanced metrics, and they're just so credible. I don't know that they're – if I went all in
that's a
with
great question.
all in with a reporter, if I went all in and said a reporter who covers anything, that your opinion is basically just going to be his opinion or her opinion because it's their opinion and you trust their credibility that much. If I go all in with Tim Kirkshin, can you beat me with anybody? And you don't have to limit it to sports. At Le Batard Show is where you tweet us. Texture writes in here, Le Batard, you sound so bitter when you talk about FS1. Bruh. It's not FS1, man. It's that style of sports argument I got no time for. I got no time for LeBron's top 5 all time. No, triple no, double no. I mean, okay, thanks. That's it. I'd be making fun of it if it was on ESPN too.
Zach Lowe, one of those guys?
Zach Lowe's pretty good.
Woj? More of a report, right?
Yeah,
Woj.
Different. Yeah, Woj is good. Woj is actually very good. Both of those guys are very good. I don't know, though, if they're because Kirkshin also has the just so likable.
Yes.
There aren't people who dislike Tim Kirkshin. So it's not just the credibility, it's that he's not polarizing about anything. He's never polarizing, which can get in the way of your message. Stugatz was wearing me out during the break, arguing with what it is that I was saying during the first segment.
Well, I was just saying, man, like you're telling people how to watch the game, how to experience the game, how to talk about the game, and I think it can be both. You can enjoy that game while still criticizing Joe Madden's decisions and Terry Francona's decisions. And that's part of the fun, at least for me. It might not be for you, but for me, and I feel like I'm probably in the majority here, I didn't care who won last night. I really didn't. I did not care. But it's fun to kind of pick apart the decisions that Joe Madden is making because some of them were laughable. I mean, they really were.
Oh, I'm not.
You have the ERA leader in Kyle Hendricks who was cruising, and you decide to take him out for John Lester, who's on 2 days rest. Absurd.
Yeah. And?
They won the World Series.
I'm not telling you how to watch. I'm telling you how I'm experiencing this
right.
and how wearying I find it And yes, I understand that's part of the fun, that second guessing is part of the fun, and that in that sport you could do it more educated than most. But ultimately, what I'm telling you is that all Joe Madden is doing is playing probabilities. And in this case, he played the probabilities poorly, not just because the result was bad, because he was playing bad probabilities. Now, he was doing it. You understand that Joe Madden blew a 7-0 lead against the Red Sox when he was Tampa's manager, right? That's why he threw Chapman in there in Game 6. All I'm saying is the hyper-analysis of that stuff doesn't matter enough, and it's contaminating the way that we get to experience the great moments, because Davis hitting a home run as a 35-year-old journeyman with a choked-up bat on a 100-mile-an-hour fastball to lift a city that hasn't had a championship in 60 years, I don't want that applause drowned out by questioning the guy with white hair in the other dugout.
Right.
For me. That's for me.
Okay. And I understand that. I want to appreciate the moment that was that home run last night that tied up the game, and I still want to rip Joe Madden for going with Chapman in Game 6 when he didn't need to.
No, but see, I think you get more enjoyment out of the latter than you do out of the former. And I think it's a lot easier to talk as content about the latter than it is about the former.
Well, there's no question about that as it relates to content. But, Dan, that's a goosebump moment for me last night. Like, I love those moments. I enjoyed that thoroughly last night. I really did.
I'm not sure how much. I'm not sure that your enjoyment, how can your enjoyment not be diluted by raging against the stupid guy in the other dugout? You're not simply enjoying that moment. Now, we might be talking semantics, but I don't know. Do you have a lot of weddings that you're hugely enjoying because you're getting into a fight in the middle of it, or criticizing some guy who did some jerk thing that you thought was really stupid? Like, to me, it absolutely dilutes these moments when it's filled with this poisonous bile calling someone an idiot.
I've had great times at weddings, picking apart speeches, picking apart dresses, picking apart the way people look. I've had a great time at weddings.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And it is part of the fun. It's just not part of the fun for me. Although I was firing off joke after joke at Madden's expense last night because I was saying that Chapman was going to get a little elbow surgery during the rain delay and they were going to throw him back out there as just a torso. I missed the Boxing Helena reference. That old movie where a woman, I missed a Boxing Helena reference. Such an old, bad movie.
I mean, Dan, the team hasn't won a World Series in, 108 years? They got a guy 90 feet away, and with 2 strikes, Joe Madden decides to call a bunt.
And what happened?
They won the World Series.
Wow, that was a bad segment.
I'm telling you, at that spot, Stugotz, I'm not even joking, when that 3-2 bunt with a man on third was bunted foul, I'm not kidding when I tell you this. That is the moment that I began rooting for the first time for the Cubs. Not joking. I was just sort of watching that with no interest whatsoever, and I'm like, oh, no. Let's go. Let's go, Cubs. You know why? Because I want the idiot to win. Because Terry Francona managed, everybody was saying what a mastermind he was. Now where are you? I'm dead serious that when that bunt went foul, I was like, why would they bunt in that spot? Man, I saw Ned Yost win a World Series. The weekend's almost here. Plan on going out, hitting the town, wearing a tuxedo maybe? Don't look slovenly. Groom yourself using the tools from the good folks at Dollar Shave Club. I do love what these people do. Tell them about it, Stu.
Yep, and over 3 million members agree with Dan, and over 3 million members no longer overpay for a quality morning shave, and new members can get their first month free. DSC is so much more than just razors, though. Pre- and post-shave formulas, skin protection formulas, killer hairstyling products, and an amazing soap and body wash. They've got it all. The products work amazingly. The service is world-class. And there's no commitment, no hidden fees. Cancel whenever you want. Get your first month free at dollarshaveclub.com/Dan. Just pay shipping. After that, it's just a few bucks. That's dollarshaveclub.com/Dan.
You're listening to the titillating Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio. Dan Lebatard. Stugats.
When you have the hammer, you gotta use it.
This is the Dan Lebatard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Dan Lebatard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Choose Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline for the best total engine protection you can get. Here's your SportsCenter update. Despite their own managers' best efforts to prevent them from winning the World Series, the Cubs still got it done. 8-7 over the Indians last night in 10 innings. Ben Zobrist, World Series MVP. Cubs' first World Series championship since 1908. Week 9 in the NFL kicks off tonight. Thursday Night Football, Falcons and Bucks, 8:25 kickoff from Tampa. And finally, embattled hedge fund billionaire Stephen A. Cohen, whose SAC Capital Advisors is charged with insider trading, paid Guy Fieri $100,000 to be his friend for a day. A new book reveals. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
You could reach the show via Twitter at Lebatard Show. And somebody writes in, why not just turn the sound off and just watch the game? That way the pontificating gas bags wouldn't bother you. Funny you should say that. Because that happened last night. And I'll explain to you how it happened. Put this on the poll here, Ziggy. And incidentally, Ziggy, real quick. If I gave you to do it over again, which would you choose if you could only have one instead of both? An hour in the makeup chair getting that done, or 3 hours in front of the camera with it having been done?
So, say that again?
What's the worst part of this punishment? Actually having to sit here for 3 hours in the full makeup, or sitting in a makeup chair for 1 hour having
that
it
took
applied?
A long time. It took a long time to get you to look like Ziggy Stardust.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like Myra could have probably done it a little quicker and not
How long was
not
it?
such detail.
How long was it? Was it an hour and a half?
Whoa.
I was there at at least an hour 15, an hour 20 minutes. And for 20 minutes, he kept saying, just one more thing. And I'm like, we don't need any more mascara. I'm good with the eyeliner.
I mean, she did
Like, we're
really
okay.
well. You look
Perfect.
Yeah, you look.
It looks
really
great. She did
Yeah.
great. But,
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah. So answer my question. The question you didn't understand. Okay, good work. So anyway...
It's a fine, too. Give it up.
I mean, honest to God, Guillermo, Christ almighty, man.
Simple question.
I mean,
Even I was listening. Want me to answer it for him?
No, that's okay. So, the fine of Guillermo when he's useless contribution, when he's useless at the microphone in the way that just wrecks the show, it's a $2 fine. So,
I feel like that should be doubled. I mean, you asked him
it
twice.
was really bad.
But you asked him twice.
It was really bad.
And Mike fed him the question.
Never mind. So, moving on. So, you asked me if the announcers bother me so much. I actually had something happen to my television last night that I didn't understand and couldn't fix, which is this. The high definition channel was only giving me ambient sound. If I wanted to hear the broadcast, I had to go to a channel that was not high definition. So I just stayed on the high definition channel. And so I want to ask this question, Ziggy, on the poll at Lebatard Show. Which would you prefer? High definition sporting event with no broadcast sound, or low definition, but you can hear what the announcers are saying? Because I chose the former when forced with that choice last night because I couldn't fix my television in time to get that fixed. And I just stayed mostly with the high definition. And the place that sent me away, the thing that sent me away was that Fox Sports commercial. I'm like, okay, see you later. No, double no. You know what? I'm going someplace else.
Right. I mean, if Joe Buck is calling the game, I'm going to go with the non-HD channel or the HD channel with the ambient sound, if Joe Buck's calling it.
All right, Stugats is on record saying he doesn't like Joe Buck's broadcast, even as you've schmoozed Joe Buck to get him on the radio.
I have, but I've been railing against, you're right, I have, but I have been railing against Joe Buck for many, many years on this show. And I found out last night that I was not alone. I mean, I was not alone.
Oh, no. Well, no. A lot of people don't like Joe Buck, but are you a sociopath? Like, how shameless are you that you have no problem whatsoever begging Joe Buck to come on this show, but you have no problem whatsoever ripping him like this about how good he is at his job? Do you imagine? How does this work with you? I'd be curious. How does this work with you?
All right.
How do you think? Let's say Joe Buck is driving around right now listening to this show.
Mm-hmm.
How does that make you feel?
I'm just being honest, man.
Okay, so
I'm just being honest. I like Joe Buck is a fine broadcaster, and you don't get to where Joe Buck has gotten without being a fine broadcaster. He just wasn't good last night. Sorry.
See, because this is one of the differences between you and me here. I don't care if Skip Bayless is listening right now as he drives around.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind if he hears it. And if I saw him, I wouldn't apologize for what I said. You would absolutely bend over backward to be fraudulent because a lot of people think, oh, this is Stugatz keeping it real. No, this is Stugatz being a fraud.
He also doesn't weigh it as a consequence, like, at all. Like, you pose the question, how would you feel if Joe Buck was driving around listening to the show? That's in one ear, out the other. He does not see that
but
as a consequence.
But if you saw Joe Buck and shook his hand.
Right.
Like if you saw him right now.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say if he said, hey, I heard you ripping me? What would you say? I heard you saying I was bad.
I'd say most of the times you were good. I just didn't feel like you were very good in a big spot in Game 7.
Fraud.
Yo, chicken time.
You would just put it on a radio character. What? Say, I was just doing radio, man. Don't worry about it. I love you, man. You know I love you.
Can't really argue any of them.
I mean, those chickens know you, man.
They do.
Those Kentucky Fried chickens know you. They handled that situation. They just armed you for when it is you inevitably run into awkwardly, Joe Buck. I loved a lot of things about last night's baseball game, but very few more than the idea of John Lester not being able to throw the ball to first base, so he's got to do it underhanded. Like, John Lester is an amazing diva. In another context, needs his own catcher. You got to go put the 39-year-old bum in the game who gets hit in the face with the ball to allow 2 runs and is wandering around concussed just so John Lester can pitch for you. It's not enough that you give him $180 million. You got to give him his own catcher and have him wander around concussed, allowing 2 runs on a wild pitch for the first time in a World Series game since they didn't have backstops and the catcher just didn't feel like going and chasing a wild pitch.
And as you pointed out, I mean, he just can't throw to a base. I mean I've seen him throw his glove to a base.
I know, but think about, he can't throw to first base. He's terrified. He did it underhanded yesterday, but he can throw exactly where he wants it, 90 miles an hour against Francisco Lindor.
Height of the sport world champion.
No, I know. No, and he needs his own catcher. Like, what happens if he doesn't have his own catcher? What are the consequences? Nobody wants to see what the consequences are of that. But the consequences of that are he hits a home run over the center field fence as the oldest player in the history of the sport to do that in a World Series game.
And then it looks like a good move. So what happens next year? Because Ross retires. So who's John Lester's new catcher?
I don't know. Excellent question, Stugatz.
John Lester retired too.
I know. But it's amazing. Like, is there anything more diva than that? Honestly, we got after Terrell Owens and all these wide receivers. Like, is there anything more diva than this guy who's getting $180 million, can't throw to any of the bases, and needs his own personal fluffer?
Cha-ching! Cha-ching! Time for some ads.
Get to Walmart and prepare your tailgate with the best in the business. Dr. Pepper, get plenty of ice because you want it colder than Michigan Stadium in the winter. College football, Dr. Pepper, fantastic. Isn't that right,
Yes,
Steve?
ice cold Dr. Pepper and college football go way back. It's safe to say that as long as there's been college football, there's been Dr. Pepper. They've always been together, always will be, always should be. Dr. Pepper and college football belong together like crazy upsets and stadium flyovers. They belong together like cornhole and hot dogs, T-shirt guns and slow-mo cams, Wildcats and flea flickers. It's like delicious. Dr. Pepper is the paint on college football's chest, the bass drum to the drum line. Having a college football gathering without Dr. Pepper is like having a whiteout game without shirts. Basically, we wouldn't recommend it. Some things are better together. Some things just belong together. Some things are both, like college football and the one-of-a-kind taste of Dr. Pepper. So The next time you have a tailgate, home game, or whatever else kind of gate, grab some ice-cold Dr. Pepper to make your college football party one of a kind. Dr. Pepper, it's a college football tradition available at Walmart.
You're listening to the sensational Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Ferguson, the right people, the right products, right around the corner. Visit Ferguson.com today.
Dan Le Batard.
There is a man named Bizow Doo-Doo Zop Bitty Bop Bop Bop. He lives in Wisconsin.
Stugats.
Allison, can you get him on before the end of the show, please? B zitty doo doo diddy bop diddy bop.
It's Bizow Doo-Doo Zop Bitty Bop Bop Bop.
All right, let's get him on, please. Let's get him on before the end of the show. And the surgery laser farter.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
Hip, hip. Tim Kirchin in about 12 minutes on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Get in touch with the show anytime to the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed, at Le Batard Show, at Stugat790. You know it's always in season, surprising a friend or loved one with a fresh bouquet from 1-800-Flowers to get vibrant bouquets starting at just $29.99. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN.
Allison is batting .333. She couldn't get the laser surgery farter because that person was in Hong Kong, set fire to a laser because she was gaseous. And we haven't been able to get D zitty doo doo diddy bop because he's homeless and has several felonies on his record in Wisconsin.
I believe he's currently in prison.
But she has found the woman who won $42 or $43 million at a slot machine that was then said to malfunction. We'll have her on in about 40 minutes. Also, Ric Flair. We're going to do a lot of baseball today, but we're also going to wander into other areas. Ric Flair is going to join us, and we're going to talk to a reporter from the Miami Herald about a mangled penis surgery. Not his own. He was reporting about somebody else's from a fake doctor. A distinctly Miami story. The World Series ratings were exceptional. 25.2 overnight. Highest Major League game since the Yankees, 9/11, Diamondbacks. Cubs, Indians, 25.2. Cavs, Warriors, 18.9. So it crushed LeBron, and basketball crushed it.
Posted a 51.5 in Chicago in that market.
Monster fun. Tweeter writes in, Le Batard mocking Skip Bayless. Tard and SVP can say all they want. They're on a sinking ship by stats and defections. I mean, okay, if that's why you think I'm doing it, like you think it's the other network. I mean, we make plenty of fun of First Take and that argument style. ESPN is still a monster. ESPN2 is the biggest sports network in America. ESPNU gets the sort of numbers that Fox is seeing. In fact, our Facebook page yesterday, somebody writes in, can we please talk about the show's Facebook presence? Seriously, go type Dan Le Batard into Facebook and see what happens. I'm not on Facebook. I just know that Stugats was walking around with a selfie stick yesterday and got 100,000 impressions. And I would imagine that that's more than any of Fox's shows are doing.
Probably.
Him walking around, Stugats going to the bathroom, giving a Kevin Sumlin hot take in the bathroom on a selfie stick is doing bigger numbers. So if you want to be on a sinking ship, this is the sinking ship to be on. But we make fun of First Take, too. I just don't like that argument style.
Kevin Durant, Steph Curry.
I'm saying he's top
Russell
10.
Westbrook.
Go ahead, keep going.
Blake Griffin.
No.
You take Carmelo over Blake Griffin?
Excuse me.
You're the one,
No. I would not take Carmelo.
Man, I wish you were a GM and
Wait
I
a
was
minute.
negotiating
I would not take Carmelo over Blake Griffin because Blake Griffin is younger.
Who's a
but I'm
better
talking about
basketball
ability. Melo.
No.
Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin. Let me ask you a question. Come postseason time. Who do you want? You want Blake Griffin or you want Melo?
Blake Griffin.
You want Blake Griffin over
Easy.
Carmelo Anthony?
Easy. Yeah.
I don't even know what to say to you right now. I don't even know what to say to you right now.
I'm not done. I'm not done.
Keep going.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I do. I guess I do kind of like it when things like this happen.
I have profound respect for the late Johnny Cochran, God rest his soul. But if it might be the cockiest thing that I've ever said. Christopher Darden and Marsha Clark did an absolutely horrendous job as prosecutors. Because if it were me, there's no way in hell Johnny Cochran would have beaten me with that evidence that they had. I'm telling you right now, I'm not even a lawyer. There is no way that you would have put 12 jurors in front of me with that evidence, and I would have lost, even to Johnny Cochran. I'd have won that trial. I've often said that.
I love it might be the cockiest thing I've ever
It might not be. Might be and it might not be. Tim Kirkshin's going to join us next. 786-456-4837 is the telephone number. I'm going to give you some Westbrook stats from last night. You ready?
Yep.
0 for 7 from 3. 10 turnovers. 2 best teammates were in single digit scoring. Both of them were 3 for 11. Single digits. They win at Clippers.
Doesn't get any better than the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Hey guys, it's Maria Taylor from Beyond the Lights. Make sure you check out the newest episode. We bring in Princess from Crime Mob. Remember that song, Duck If You Buck, from 15 years ago. And we've got the star rapper from the song in our spotlight.
Hey, basketball fans, I'm George Sedano on the latest NBA Lockdown podcast. Amin Al-Hassan, Kevin Pelton, and I discuss the biggest surprises thus far in the first week of the NBA season, all these new contracts, and Ray Allen's retirement.
Number 1 ranked Alabama heads to Death Valley for a huge SEC showdown against LSU.
Snap, fumble, Alabama's got the football.
Coverage begins Saturday at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.